So, no video last week because I was at the Baltimore Comic Con on Friday, and then on Saturday, I went to the local show in Carlisle. I wasn't going to go to a local show in Carlisle because essentially it's a celebrity petting zoo masquerading as a Comic Con. I ended up going because Rick Hoberg was there, and he did a lot. He did some issues about 10 issues of All Star Squadron. I mean, everybody who knows me and hears me when I talk, I like. I'm a big fan of the All Star Squadron. So to get him to sign those books, I was like, yeah, take the opportunity. So it was actually a good show to go to. I mean, I got to see Mark McKenna as always, talk to him, and then I saw Rick Hoberg. And one of the first books I had him sign was my big Treasury edition of Star Wars, and he was tickled, very excited to sign that one. He said how this is one of the first how like, he gets so many people to ask him to sign that book, and they always say like, that was like their first Star Wars book, or in my case, it's not wasn't just my first Star Wars book, it was my first comic book. And he was very touched, and he was saying how like uh, when he had one show. I think it was out in Hawaii. He went to a show, and he signed the Star Wars Treasury Edition for these two girls. And here it was so funny. It was like it was it was the Treasury Edition, but yet it had like drawings on glasses on Luke Skywalker, and drew the boobs real big over Princess Leia, and I think Han and my, all the stuff the kids do to comic books when they're kids, and it's just pure entertainment for them. And so to have him sign that was like, A, it's Star Wars, and B, it's like, even though I have had other books that might have gotten before Star Wars, Star Wars was the first real big impact book of my life. As I've said many times, if it weren't for Star Wars and then later for G.I. Joe, I probably wouldn't have gotten into comic books, because those were the two books that I got the most, and then slowly started getting other comic books. So having him sign that Star Wars book was significant to me. So, and then of course I had him sign about 5 or 6 uh, issues of All Star Squadron. And it was funny because as I was like, okay, I'm done for the day, I'm leaving, and I go out to my car and I look at all the other All Star Squadron books that I had with me, and I looked at them. And I thought to myself, this is like maybe the only time I get to see Rick, not because of his age, okay, but because of the fact that he lives out on the West Coast. He doesn't make too many East Coast shows, and I'm like, this might be the only time I get really a chance to see him again. So I grabbed 2 or 3 more books and went back inside and had him sign them. Like I said, just it had nothing to do with his age. It had to do uh, with the fact that he's a West Coast guy. And he said how like he's. I said to him about like how there are a lot of the West Coast guys. I mean, if they make a trip occasionally east, I think they would do well. And he, I said, yeah, I said how I would love to meet Chuck Patton. And he goes, oh, Chuck's my buddy. And I go, well, if you meet Chuck, you tell him that if he comes out east, I'm the person who's going to see him, because of the fact that he created the greatest DC superhero that they've never used, and that being Vibe. So, of course, had to get the remark in about Vibe. So, but no, it was just really nice meeting him and talking to him. And he's very soft. He's very soft spoken, which makes it hard when you're at shows with everybody talking and all the background noise, to hear him. So you really have to focus on him and when he's talking. So, and he is still active. He's not like doing like monthly books. he actually has a story that he is working on. He's doing it on his own, and he said he's not sure how he's going to have it published when he gets the book done. To which I asked if he's going to do possibly doing crowdfunding. He goes, I don't know. I really know too much about it. And I said, well, I said, Mark McKenna here. He's done successful crowdfunding for all of his books. You should check it out with him. And he was like, okay, I think I will. So it was just very good. So and then of course, like I said, I went to Baltimore on Friday. Friday was it was an okay. It wasn't as busy as I thought it would be, which worked in my favor because a lot of the lines weren't as long as you expect them to be. And then Sunday, Miss Stippling and I went down to the show, and we just went around the show and had a good time seeing everybody. And then afterwards, we went over to Fells Point to get dinner. So, and then came home. So, and okay, I'm gonna flip it over this way. And you see the way I'm doing is that you've got your highlight here, okay, and then I'm fading out. So the rest of this cape, all the way down, is going to be black. So we're going to be doing that first. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go to here. The reason why I'm going to start here is because I want you guys to see, okay, because remember, see how you got this red line going down through, okay? The hero, Bose, he has red trim on his clothes. And that's because when it's colored, it's a black clothes with red trim. I'm doing this so you can really see how I'm doing this to get the red trim to pop. That way, when it's colored, it stands out. So that was a color choice by John. He really wants uh, the costume to pretty much be black, so that way with just red trim, kind of like how Mignola draws people. How it's like all you see is this black form with red highlights, or maybe like how the way he does Hellboy. I guess that's how he's looking at it. So I'm so when I'm drawing this, I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm drawing. I got to keep in mind. Okay, draw them in such a way so you see, so like you would have the clothes laying on him intentionally. So even if he's all but a silhouette, you would still put in the trim work, which includes that if you were to do them all but like a silhouette, you can't just rough out a blob of the shape. You've got to actually work out all of the anatomy so that we can see where the clothing lays on the character, so that way you can draw in that trim, and just leave that trim as a white almost, but it still has to look right. So that way when the colorist goes in, he can just go in, put in the red trim with the red. And because I'm stippling, what the colorist may do is either have this here as a blue or maybe as a red hue again, so that way you get that color scheme going through it. So, because I mean, that's the one thing with me doing that is the way I do it is because I stipple, you get all these spots where the white shows through, and that's where the colorist can go and go, okay, what color do I want to put in as a backdrop color, so that it give that intensity, so that even a silhouette character isn't going to be a true silhouette. So it gives the colorist the ability to have fun with it, when they do their job. So we're at week 42. So we've got 10 weeks left because there's 52 weeks in a year, and we are doing 365 days of signed comics. So we're at week 42, and this is days 248 through 290. So, and these were the books that I did. These are the postings I did during Baltimore. So then we got week 248, which is 2000, issue number 1. This was a Justice League JSA JLA crossover. It was done in such a way that JLA and JSA don't know each other exist, and because it's done through time. And here's villains are getting a hold of 20th century technology and are using it. So they'll have like uh, machine gun, like heavy duty machine guns instead of a Thompson machine gun, or science fiction ray guns, and the JSA have to figure out what's going on, along with the JLA trying to figure out what's going on. I found it to be very. It was just a good. You don't have to worry about continuity when they do stories like this. Just have fun with it. Just have fun. Don't worry about continuity. Just create a good story, and that's what I felt this was. So I had a last year. I had Samikis, had him sign it, and then I had uh, Prentice Rollins sign it also. So it's a good combination of those two, just having them sign it. Then we go from there. We go back, and that was the last DC book for the T's. And the reason why the 2000 starts with a T. I don't do the whole. That's how that's the one thing I do is if the title of the book is a number or a date or a combination of numbers, like I put them in by, okay, if I were spelling this out, what would it be? And that's why this ends up in the T's and not in the very beginning under numbers. So, and then from there we go into Marvel, and we've got Tales of the Marvel Universe. This was a one-shot book to basically kick off what was going on in the Marvel Universe after Onslaught, when all of the main superheroes that weren't mutants had to basically use their life force to defeat Onslaught, which sucked them into the alternate reality done by the Image guys. And so I wanted this one to be shown to you guys because I thought this was for me, this was like a significant issue at the time for DC. Remember also at the same time, DC was also going through bankruptcy. And so they had to, they were kind of like offloading and subcontracting their main Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, off to Image, while they then they had their X-Men books, but then they created a series of new books. This is where it's like the Thunderbolts and Kazar came about. So, and I've talked about Kazar before, how Kazar was essentially uh, Andy Kubert was tired of doing the X Men, and he wanted to do his own book. And where it's received criticism from people, how it's like the sales were always going to peak at a certain level and never go higher. I always and this was a book where it was essential for Marvel to do this book to keep Andy Kubert with Marvel, so which led them to do Captain America. So there was an excerpt done by Andy in this Tales of the Marvel Universe. Is actually the book that was used to debut the Thunderbolts, which we then learned in the Thunderbolts that they were actually villains masquerading as heroes. So, ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to wait. I'm not gonna be able to work on this right now for you guys because I'm gonna have to refigure out because this was supposed to be what like the edge, start the tone, start darken the tone. Then this was on the black. That's all gonna be blended together. So I'm gonna have to rework this. So actually, you know what I'll do? Oh, I know what I'll do. Okay, so here we're just gonna go light here. We're gonna go light in here, and yeah, okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go light along the edge, so it's gonna be black. So this up here is gonna be blended all together, and then it's gonna yeah. Okay, I see what I'm gonna do. I see what I'm gonna do now. Oh boy, I know what I'm gonna do. So probably won't have it done for this video, but you'll see it in tomorrow's video. So, but anyway, so this issue, like it has, like I got a bunch of signatures on this one. Uh, Rick Leonardi, Aaron Lopresti, Mark Wade, and who was the other person? It was J.M. DeMatis. Got all of them have signatures on this book. I'm very excited to have so many signatures. This is one of those books where it's like, yeah, this is, again, if I ever meet Mark Bagley again, this is one of those books I'm probably gonna have to. I want to have him sign, so he's like, as I say, he's got to join the team. So, but so, and then from there we go to uh, days 286, 287, and 288. Tarzan done by Marvel Comics. Now I had already posted before, and you've seen that there was a Tarzan issue done by or signed by Jose when DC had uh, Tarzan. Okay, that when Marvel, I believe the way it works is when I don't know what the timeline is, but we'll just ignore it. So anyway, so this Tarzan number 13 done by Roy Thomas, where Tarzan's there and he's standing there and he's got the skinned lion skin on his back, so he's like a ghost. Uh, this was one of my first comics. That was, and I drew that cover so many times, or drew images of Tarzan with the lion skin on him, even though the drawings were very badly done. I just loved that, and the imagery was so impactful of Tarzan standing there amongst all these natives wearing the lion skin, and how all the natives were like blah 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 blah. It's a ghost. It's a monster, and how he just so good. So and then of course, uh, so I when I the first and only time I've met Roy Thomas, that was the issue I had to have him sign. And I did tell him, I said, this was part of my original collection. Now, I'd lost it, but since then I've rebought it. So this isn't the original copy I had as a kid. If it was the original copy, it would have been much worse shape. It would be horrendous. It'd be like hanging on pieces with the cover just barely on it. It probably would have been like a point .5, to be honest, if I still had the original copy. But I still love this book, so I had to rebuy it later on in life. So, and then of course after that we have uh, 13. No, I'm sorry, 21. Rudy Nebres did the inside artwork. Bob McLeod did the inks over John Buscema. I didn't have this original. This wasn't part of the original childhood collection, but I had gotten it later on in life, and having the opportunity to have, it was like, again, it was like I enjoyed it. Tarzan's fighting pterodactyls, and it's like okay, I really like it, and plus also it was Big John did it, so it's like did the cover, so it's kind of like I want to have a signature of this. If I can't have John Buscema's signatures on it, have the guy that inked John Buscema and did a great job with it, and that being Bob McLeod. And then lastly, we go to Tarzan number 29 on day 285. This is number 29, signed by the colorist Bob Sharon. Another had this when I was a kid. Just the cover alone of Tarzan with the animals in a lifeboat with the ship sinking behind them. And again, this is me as a kid. I was looking, so I'd redraw this with like, well, he didn't include these animals, and I'd be drawing like, you know, uh, I'd be drawing a tiger, and I'd be drawing a giraffe, and I think I even drew an elephant, even though it's completely implausible for an elephant to be uh, in a lifeboat and the lifeboat not to sink. For me as a kid, it was one of those like, didn't care if it's Tarzan and he's got to have an elephant, because I was really big in it, and that's another reason why I gravitated to Tarzan as a little kid, was because I really liked animals as a child, and always wanted pets. Father wouldn't allow them, until much older in life, or I should say, older when my parents got divorced. My mom was kind of like, well, fuck you, asshole, we're getting a dog. And guess what? It's Vaughn's dog, which means if you want to spend time with your son, you have to take the dog. Yeah, I mean, you can say like that's pretty petty, but no, for me it was perfect because I mean that was my dog, and I love that dog so much. And it's one of those where it's like, no, if he wants to spend time with his son, he needs to take care of the dog. And then even worse was when my parents went through the full divorce, and he got custody of me. That meant he had custody of me and he had custody of the dog. So, so I don't know. But anyway, so I really liked animals. That's the reason why I really uh, liked this cover and the story inside. I mean, the artwork inside. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. As I've grown older, uh, I appreciate Sal Buscema's artwork more. But at the time, uh, and even so, I'll still say John Buscema uh, was the master draftsman compared to his brother Sal. And that's nothing against Sal. Just I mean, it's John. It's Big John. I mean, he did such a great job. Even as as people have talked to him said how like he he didn't necessarily like doing the superhero stuff, but he saw what the royalties were for doing the superhero stuff. So that's the reason why he started doing the superhero stuff. But you really take a look. He always had the when he draw Captain America, he would put a lot of times have Captain America in a pose that was very reminiscent or all but equal to Tarzan or Conan. So I always felt that was how well he did those books, or how well he did his figure work, I should say. So that's the reason why I like Tarzan. That's the reason why I have more Tarzan Marvel books uh, than DC. I think also it has to do with the fact that uh, I think because when I was a little kid, Marvel had the license, and I didn't know about comic book stores. I wouldn't have gone back. That's the reason why I had these issues from Marvel because they had the license at the time and not DC. So, and then of course the last day of the oh no, after that we've got day 289, Thor 337. Everybody loves this one because this is one where Bill Array he becomes Thor. I don't have this signed by Walt. I think I might get him to sign it soon. But the reason why I have it signed by John, and I only have it signed by John, is what makes this issue so impactful for me isn't Walt's pencils and storytelling. It is John's lettering. John's lettering on this issue. He if you need a sound if you need a soundtrack to a comic book, he's the person that you hire. And more importantly, as Walt says, how when he does these books, how he writes it out, he hands this and he does like rough layouts. He then hands everything over to John Workman, lets John Workman do the lettering for it, and then Walt will finish up the book. And this really shows through. When you see that final page where Don Blake, or where I think it was it Marcus? Please tell me in the comments. Uh, uh, Thor's alter ego, was it Don Blake? I think it was Don Blake. Him standing on top of the rubble and screaming, "Father!" And it just the way he did the dialogue bubble and the lettering where he's screaming out. And you take a look at that lettering takes up a good significant part of that final panel. Uh, Him standing there isn't the focal point. The focal point is John Workman's lettering, with him standing there, fists in the air, hollering out for his. I can't remember whether he's yelling "Father" or "Odin," but that whole concept where he's standing there, because like I said, John Workman's lettering is the focal point, not the artwork. And that's the reason why I have John Workman has signed it where Walt has not signed it. But like I said, I've reached the kind of the point where it's like, I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to. So if I see Walt, there's one show in the Lehigh area. If he does that this year in December, I might do it. I might have him like pull the trigger. If not, there's a show in Phillipsburg in the springtime that Walt and Wheezy go to and have a lot of support for. I'll have them sign in at that one. So okay, guys, and then the last day, day 290, was Thor 383 by Ron Friends. This was basically almost like a one-off issue, an inventory story where we revisit the Secret Wars, and it's basically a story. And the way they start it is the Enchantress is there, and she's with another deity, and uh, Enchantress has a story to tell her. I guess basically about love and not relying on love, and she tells the story of this interaction she had with Thor during the Secret Wars, and how it goes to and how this short story, and of course Ron Friends did a great job of of drawing it. So when I saw him last year at that Carlisle show, I had this is one of the books I had him sign because I'm like I really do like of the work they did. That this I thought was really good. Plus, it's a throwback story to that time. So just had to take advantage of him being there. So, but so that's it, guys. So I'll tell you more about Baltimore tomorrow when I do week 43, which is this current week. So I'll take down some notes about Baltimore, and I'll try to include them in tomorrow's video, whereas today I was just talking about Carlisle. So you guys all have a great day. It's a nice, crisp, cool day. The sun is out, but it's fall time, so it's still crisp. So enjoy that crisp, beautiful weather before it gets too cold. Unless you're someone like Marcus and Andy in North Carolina, where it's nice and warm still. So you guys all have a great day, and remember, everybody, take life one dot at a time.